The headlines hit, the fandom went completely silent.
Yeah, no teasers, no comeback announcements, just a massive multi-million-dollar bombshell.
Right, it turned the entire K-pop world upside down. Like, the scary update Min Hee-jin just dropped has everyone asking, is this the end of an era or the birth of a new empire?
Exactly. It's just wild.
Welcome to Starscope K-Report. Join Eric and Minji as they ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates. From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
And, today, the atmosphere in K-pop spaces is just, it's suffocating right now.
It really is. We are unpacking the unprecedented legal warfare, the absolute fandom heartbreak, and the multi-million-dollar ultimatums defining the HYBE versus Min Hee-jin saga.
Yeah, tracking this all the way to the latest July 2026 developments. Because the sheer shock rippling through the fandom and K-nets right now is unreal.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, former ADOR CEO Min Hee-jin just offered to walk away from roughly $17.9 million.
Which is just hard to process. Like, in this fiercely competitive industry where agencies are constantly fighting to maximize their profit margins, a CEO offering to sacrifice generational wealth is, well, it's entirely unheard of.
Right. You just do not see someone at the top of the corporate food chain leveraging their own payout for the sake of the artists.
Ever.
So to understand the gravity of that number, we have to look at the mechanics of how she even got it.
The February 12th court victory.
Yep,
right.
exactly. On February 12, 2026, she won a massive victory in the Seoul Central District Court regarding her put option.
And for anyone who doesn't know, a put option is basically like a financial escape hatch.
Yeah, imagine buying price drop insurance on a house you own. Even if the housing market crashes or the neighborhood goes downhill, that insurance guarantees you can sell your house at a locked-in high price.
Right, and that is what Min Hee-jin had with her 13% stake in ADOR. She had a contractual right to force HYBE to buy her shares at a premium.
But HYBE tried everything to invalidate that escape hatch.
And of course they did.
They argued she broke her shareholder agreement by allegedly plotting to take ADOR independent.
Like effectively trying to poach the label out from under the parent company.
Right, and they used that as their justification to terminate the contract and block the payout. But the court looked at the internal communications and ruled that, yes, while she did explore ways to make ADOR independent, it never crossed the line into an actionable contract-breaking offense.
So it didn't actually harm the company's growth.
Exactly. The court validated her put option, ordering HYBE to pay her 25.5 billion won, which is about 17.7 million US dollars plus legal expenses.
So she secured the bag. The money was legally hers.
Legally hers. But then we get to the press conference in Seoul, where she drops this unbelievable condition.
Oh my gosh, yes. She announces she will waive the entire payout. Like every single penny is back on the table if HYBE drops all ongoing lawsuits connected to the dispute.
That means clearing the legal slate for the NewJeans members, the ADOR staff, the outsourcing partners, and even the fans who got swept up in the crossfire.
And she stated point blank that the sole reason for this offer is the members. For anyone who has followed the Hallyu wave, this kind of loyalty just hits you right in the chest.
It's definitely unusual for the industry.
Completely. Fandoms are so used to seeing their biases treated as expendable commodities the second they stop generating peak revenue.
Right.
So to see an executive starting fresh with her new label, OA Records, one-of-a-kind records, and holding auditions for a new boy band, but still willing to walk away from a sum most people couldn't earn in 3 lifetimes just to protect her former artists. I mean, it totally redefines the artist-producer relationship.
Well, it is a brilliant tactical pivot, too. I mean, she is taking that corporate golden parachute and forging it into a golden shield for her idols.
A golden shield. Wow, I love that.
But let's look at this without the romanticized fandom lens for a second. What was HYBE's response to this multi-million-dollar olive branch?
Absolute deafening silence.
Yeah, they released a brief statement saying they had no specific position on the matter, which to me looks like a cold, calculated negotiating tactic.
Really? You think they're just playing games?
Think about it. HYBE has already appealed the February 12 ruling, and the court paused the payment during the appeal process. HYBE might just be letting her sweat, operating on the logic that they don't actually owe her the money yet.
Right, like, why accept a deal based on funds they're actively fighting to withhold anyway?
Exactly.
But that silence leaves the fandom in agonizing limbo.
Yeah.
Every day without a resolution is another day these artists are sidelined. And Min Hee-jin isn't making the sacrifice in a vacuum.
No, she's watching a financial guillotine hang over these young women. And that's not even the wildest part of this controversy. Wait till you hear what netizens uncovered about the group's fractured lineup.
Ugh, it is so heartbreaking because the reality of the group's lineup right now is completely fractured. 3 members are back under ADOR, one is facing a lawsuit that defies comprehension, and one is stuck in an unconfirmed status.
The timeline of this fallout really is a masterclass in how quickly an entertainment empire can consume its own. Let's go back to November 2024.
Right, when the 5 members held that press conference and unilaterally terminated their exclusive contracts with ADOR.
Yeah, citing violations of artist protection and workplace harassment, and then by February 2025, they had rebranded themselves as NJZ.
And then came March 2025. This was huge. They bravely took the stage as headliners at Complex Con in Hong Kong under the NJZ name.
Performing an unreleased track called Pit Stop, right?
Yes. And watching the clips of that performance was just a visceral experience. The emotion on their faces was so raw.
I remember the videos going viral everywhere.
They concluded that set by announcing a hiatus for the foreseeable future, and international fans were just heartbroken. You're watching a group at the absolute peak of their visual and vocal synergy say goodbye to the stage because boardroom politics finally eclipsed the music.
But that ComplexCon performance was an incredible act of defiance, especially when you realize the legal hammer that was coming down on them.
Oh, the preliminary injunction.
Yeah. 2 days before they took that stage, ADOR obtained a preliminary injunction barring them from independent activities. And they performed anyway.
Which was so brave, but the consequences were brutal.
Very. In May 2025, the Seoul Central District Court brought the hammer down, ordering each member to pay a staggering 1 billion won, which is roughly $874,000, for every single unauthorized activity they performed from that date onward.
Think about the psychological weight of that. Imagine being a performer and knowing that every time you pick up a microphone, every time you step on a stage to greet your own fans, it costs you nearly $1 million in penalties.
It's basically an invisible cage built out of court orders.
Exactly. They appealed the decision, but the Seoul High Court rejected it in June 2025. And then the definitive blow landed in October 2025.
Right, when the court ruled their exclusive contracts with ADOR are valid and binding all the way until 2029, which forced an impossible choice.
It really did. So in November 2025, Haerin, Hyein, and Hanni made the incredibly difficult decision to return to ADOR.
But Danielle did not.
No, she didn't.
On December 29th, 2025, ADOR officially terminated Danielle's exclusive contract. And then the very next day, they filed a damages lawsuit against Danielle, her family member, and Min Hee-jin for 43.1 billion won.
Which translates to almost $29.8 million.
Just a staggering amount of money. Meanwhile, Minji's status remains unconfirmed, with ADOR claiming in May 2026 that discussions are progressing positively.
You hear a nearly $30 million lawsuit targeting one artist, and you're probably thinking, how is that even legal? The K-Nets were in an absolute uproar.
Understandably so.
Danielle was such a vital part of the group's vocal color. To see her hit with a penalty that looks like the GDP of a small island by the very agency that debuted her, it's chilling. It feels so punitive, like a warning shot to every other idol in the industry.
Well, to understand how a court even entertains a $30 million number, you have to look at the mechanics of the K-pop machine. It operates essentially like Silicon Valley venture capitalism.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Agencies sink millions of dollars into scouting, housing, feeding, and training dozens of young kids for years. They hire choreographers, vocal coaches, and producers, fully knowing that maybe only one group out of 100 trainees will actually debut and become profitable.
Right. The success of the few pays for the massive overhead of the many.
Exactly. So when a member breaches a contract early, the agency doesn't just sue for lost future earnings. They sue for the disruption of that entire heavily leveraged ecosystem.
Which is exactly why the major industry trade groups in South Korea panicked when this all started. Organizations like the Korea Management Federation, the KMF, and the Korea Entertainment Producers Association issued stark warnings.
Yeah, they view this entire situation through the lens of tampering.
Right, tampering. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. In professional sports, you have a farm system where a team spends years developing a rookie. In the tech world, you have non-compete clauses. If a massive tech giant could just swoop in and poach a startup's entire engineering team the day before a revolutionary product launches, without honoring any contracts, the startup ecosystem would die. That is how the KMF sees tampering.
So if artists can just unilaterally break their contracts to follow a departing producer like Min Hee-jin, the agencies lose all incentive to invest that upfront capital.
Precisely. The KMF actually warned that if tampering becomes normalized, foreign capital could step in, exploit the chaos, and swallow the Korean entertainment industry entirely.
Wow, so the industry is basically aggressively protecting its castle and its investment model, treating human beings like highly volatile intellectual property.
Yeah.
But the tragedy is that the idols are the ones paying the 43 billion won toll at the gates.
Exactly. It's a corporate Game of Thrones. The executives are fighting over precedent, and the artists are losing the prime years of their careers. It's just devastating. Hey, if you love staying updated on your favorites and need help untangling this massive web of KT, make sure you hit that subscribe button to Starscope K Report. We are keeping track of every single twist in this saga.
And there are a lot of twists. You would think that with 3 members returning to ADOR, they would prioritize smooth sailing and a highly anticipated comeback. But the legal nightmare isn't over. Later in the episode, we'll talk about the shocking plot twist hitting their discography that nobody saw coming.
I still can't believe this part of the story.
Right. Let's fast forward to July 2026. ADOR has been actively trying to right the ship. They appointed a new CEO, Do-kyong, who has a heavy background in IP and strategy from HYBE.
Yeah, the stated goal of this leadership change was to strictly separate management from production, which is the exact opposite of the all-encompassing auteur-style Min Hee-jin used to run the label with.
Right. But stabilization hit a brick wall when a brand new legal bomb dropped. A massive U.S. copyright lawsuit was filed in a California district court. Just when the fandom thought the girls might get a chance to breathe, their actual discography comes under attack.
Exactly. The lawsuit was filed by All Surface Publishing. They claim that the massive hit track ETA, the standout from their 2023 EP Get Up, lifted its instrumentals from a 2005 dance track called Samir's Theme by DJ Debonair Samir.
And the claims are super specific, right?
Very technical. All Surface Publishing alleges the unauthorized use of a syncopated horn melody. For those who don't know, syncopation is when the musical notes hit on the offbeats, creating that unpredictable, bouncy energy that makes a track feel urgent.
Right, it's what makes this song so catchy.
Yeah, they also claim the song stole a specific 16th note rhythmic structure, the rapid driving percussion that acts as the engine of the beat, along with a distinct bass drum pattern.
The thing is, ETA wasn't just some album track. It was a massive cultural moment. It was playing in cafes in Seoul, clubs in Tokyo, and plastered all over social media globally.
And because of that massive reach, the lawsuit is casting a very wide net. They aren't just suing ADOR, HYBE, and the NewJeans members.
No, they are also suing Apple.
Right, and Apple's inclusion is where the financial stakes just skyrocket.
Because ETA was featured heavily in those global advertising campaigns for the iPhone 14 Pro, right?
Exactly. The plaintiffs are seeking all profits earned from the song, but they are also demanding statutory damages of $150,000 for the alleged infringement.
Statutory damages are terrifying for a corporation.
Oh, absolutely. Instead of having to prove exact lost record sales, which is very hard to do for a 2005 track, statutory damages allow the court to assign a set, flat penalty per infringement.
So if a judge decides that every time that iPhone commercial aired counts as an infringement,
that number scales to the moon instantly.
Wow. The frustration online is just palpable. Knets are furious. The members who went back to ADOR just want a normal comeback. But instead, they are drowning in a labyrinth of litigation.
First, the contract dispute, then the billion-won fines, the fractured lineup, and now they are being dragged into a U.S. federal court over a beat.
International fans are just exhausted. Like, there are active discussions on forums, wondering if ADOR is intentionally sabotaging the group's momentum to erase the lingering loyalty to Min Hee-jin's era.
And you know, that sabotage theory gets a massive injection of fuel when you look closely at how ADOR responded to this copyright lawsuit.
It was so weird. Normally, when a label is sued over a hit song, their immediate reflex is to release a boilerplate statement denying the claims and vigorously defending their producers.
But ADOR didn't do that. Instead, they publicly stated that ETA was obtained through a producer chosen by former CEO Min Hee-jin.
Which is wild.
Yeah, and furthermore, they announced they are currently reviewing company records to see if Min Hee-jin properly reviewed the song for similarities back when it was produced.
That is a staggering pivot. In the K-pop industry, clearing samples and checking for copyright infringement is typically the job of the A&R department and the legal team, not solely the CEO. By publicly pointing the finger directly at Min Hee-jin, ADOR is breaking rank.
Is it safe to say ADOR is weaponizing a U.S. federal lawsuit to conduct a retroactive internal audit on their former CEO?
It really looks like it. They are taking a copyright claim that threatens their own intellectual property and treating it like a Trojan horse to further discredit Min Hee-jin's legacy.
And the contrast is jarring when you look at recent history. I mean, this isn't an isolated incident.
Not at all. Back in July 2024, the British band Shock Attack claimed that the song Bubblegum infringed on their track. Easier said than done. And then in May 2026, composers filed a lawsuit claiming How Sweet copied their demo track One of a Kind.
Right, and in both of those earlier cases, ADOR aggressively defended the music. They demanded credible, independent analysis reports from the accusers and stood firmly behind the production teams.
But now, with ETA, they are effectively throwing the music under the bus to get a shot at Min Hee-jin. The music itself has become collateral damage in this executive power struggle.
It really forces you to wonder how any group survives this level of sustained multi-front pressure. The executives are playing 4D chess with lawsuits, audits, and billion-won penalties, while the artists are just trying to hold on to their careers.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Which brings us to a critical question to mull over as we wrap up today's deep dive. We know the courts have ruled the ADOR exclusive contracts are valid until 2029. Let's imagine a scenario where we finally reach 2029. The contracts expire.
Okay, imagining it.
The original 5 members manage to survive the lawsuits, they reunite, and they sign with Min Hee-jin's new OA records.
I mean, that is the ultimate light at the end of the tunnel for the fandom. A reunited group, free from the corporate warfare, making music with the visionary who built their sound.
But will the Hallyu wave have moved on by then? The K-pop industry is ruthlessly, fiercely competitive. We see highly polished, incredibly talented new groups debuting every single month, backed by massive budgets.
That is true. Fandom attention spans are short, and the algorithm constantly demands fresh visuals and new sounds.
Right. So in this brutal fight to own the brand and dictate corporate precedent, are the executives actually destroying the prime years of these artists' careers? By the time the dust settles in 2029, will the magic that made them a global phenomenon simply be a memory of an era that the industry crushed?
Ugh, it is a sobering thought. The industry moves at lightning speed. A hiatus of this magnitude, filled with this much public trauma and legal exhaustion, it leaves a permanent mark on a group's trajectory.
Definitely.
We will be watching closely to see what happens to Danielle's lawsuit, to Minji's contract status, and to the members currently trying to navigate life back at ADOR. If you want to keep tracking this story and everything else happening in Korean entertainment, don't forget to subscribe to Starscope K Report.
You've been listening to Starscope K Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.